That is soy wax that you have. So those come in flake form. So if you open natural soy wax and there's no phthalates or chemicals in it, it's just a blend. I love working with this is because it's cleaner, sustainable choice. And it's very easy to work with, and it's a little bit oily texture, but it washes off easily with warm soap and water. So you can actually reuse the jars after you're done burning the candle too. And then just to kind of give you a little bit more information about the fragrance. So the fragrance that we provided is oil-based, and that's also phthalate-free, but also we can kind of have fun with it. So if you have any pure essential oils, you could definitely kind of, experiment with that and add that in there and kind of blend and make your own creation as well. And then you only need a couple drops, so you don't need a ton. So I think what we'll do is we'll kind of walk you through in terms of how to melt the wax. So technically there's a lot of different ways that you could melt the wax. And if you're pouring bigger batches, it's important to really kind of understand the temperature. There's a lot of science that kind of goes into making the perfect candle. But since we're only going to make a small amount today, as long as we kind of, eyeball it, it should be okay. Again, soy wax is very forgiving. So the way that we can melt it is before we kind of set up. So the first option is you could do something like I'm doing here. It's called the double boiling method. And it's simply just taking, you could even take like a microwavable or stovetop friendly glass or another pot, and then you could just add it on top of your pot here. And then I fill it up with a little bit of water because it's gonna kind of have that steam effect, and it's really similar to melting chocolate. So, and the purpose of this is not to burn the wax. So that's why you don't want to put it over direct heat. And it's important to have the water. So before we started melting the wax here, the double boiling method. If you want, we can do the microwave method as well too. So we have the soy wax flakes over here. And what I would suggest is you're going to heat this up in the microwave, and because it's kind of a wax form, it's important to kind of stir it halfway through. So I would fill up the cup with about half of the soy wax that we provided for you. So there's about 4 to 5 ounces of soy wax in it per than what your glass will fill. And if you have left, and then you can put it in the microwave. So when you put it in the microwave, I would put it anywhere from 45 seconds to 1 minute. And again, you don't want to put it in there for a long amount of time because we don't want to burn the wax. And soy wax typically has a low melt point. So once you put it in for 45 seconds to 1 minute, take it out of the microwave, and then you would take a melt. And then you'll put it back in the microwave for about 30 to 45 seconds. And then what you want to achieve is when you take it out of the microwave, you want to achieve a clear liquid. So you're going to kind of see that. That's the soy melt. And when you're at the clear form, that's when it's ready to pour.
But if they did the double boiling method, how
is with the heat. So what I would recommend is, I noticed that it'll start heating when the water starts getting into a small boil. So maybe around anywhere from about 170 to 180 temperature of the water. And then again, you'll kind of see it as you're melting the wax. You'll see it start to melt. It's very similar to, like chocolate. Okay, so I think what we'll do is, so in terms of when you want to start heating your wax, the purpose is these waxes will solidify a little bit quickly. So I think the first step is, and then also deciding on your fragrance as well. So these we could do before you pour it, because when the wax is melted, you will work on setting up the vessel first. Those are safety warning labels, so you just want to stick it at the bottom. And then the next step is you want to add on your sticky wick seal. So this is double-sided. Peel off the top clear tab. These are double-sided, like it's double-sided adhesive, so you can peel off any side. And then I always find it easier if I peel off the top first, and then you'll press the wick tab like so, and then you'll get your vessel. So I like to pick up the vessel too, because then I could gauge it. So we could do it different ways. I like to just hold it. I think it's because I've been doing this so much, but the purpose is to get it into the middle of your glass. So, and then these are actually slowly place it right on the middle of your glass. But yeah, if this is kind of just line up the glass and then drop it in the middle. So once you place it and you're pretty happy with where it is, then I just take my fingers and just press down onto the glass. And sometimes what happens if it's not stuck at the bottom, because this is an oil-based liquid, you need the wick to burn the candle. And then also just a little tip on the placement of the wax, of the wick. Let's say if it's too much to the side and you feel like the wax is not burning down evenly, after you blow out the candle and the wax is still soft, you can kind of maneuver the wick a little bit. So don't worry too much about the placement of the wick. Okay. Oh, let me put on my safety label as well. And then my glass has like just a little ribbon trim. So these are just, cute ways or creative ways that you can kind of personalize your glass. So I love to put like a little trim on it, because when you put the lid on, it just makes it look really cute.
It's perfect for gifting.
Yes, yeah. Perfect. And then you have enough time to get ready for holiday. Yeah. Okay, so we have our vessel set up over here. And then we can kind of talk about the oils. So if you already know which oil you want to use and you're happy with the scent that you received, which is the lavender or the citrus, that's perfectly fine. These are really great scents as is. And then if you want to get creative, you could layer your scents and add in a drop of, essential oils as well too. So I have here eucalyptus today, and then also a peppermint oil. And then I also have rose oil here, and then the lavender that some of you also have too. And then you'll also, oh yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if you wanted to layer or mix the scents, do you have to mix them ahead of time?
No.
Pre-mix them, or you kind of
Yeah, you could. Yeah, so this is where you're going to blend the fragrance oils and the wax together. So here, this is where you can kind of play and just add on the different oils and layer your scents. And then this will be good too, because you can kind of get an idea. Your stir stick, and then you have your wax. So at this time, you could either watch and just kind of make sure that the wax is melting, and then just give it a few stirs, with the mixing stick. And then to have a temperature or, a candy thermometer, you can definitely use those. If it's a little bit lower, that's absolutely fine. And you don't want it to be chunky or anything like that. Okay, so.
And at any point, if you have any questions, please feel free to type in your questions on the side chat box so that we can help answer them.
Questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Marie, and then she can reach out to me, and then I can kind of, provide more information as well too. Because we want to, make sure that you'll be wanting to do this even after this one. And okay. So I think we are ready to do the wax part.
Yay.
Okay. Do you know what kind of fragrances you want to use?
I think I'm going to go with the lavender.
Lavender, perfect.
Yeah.
And then in terms of how much fragrance oil you have, so we have a little bit, about 0.8 ounces, 0.5 to 0.8 ounces of the fragrance oil that has been provided to you. So we kind of made these a little bit of a stronger scent. So if you do want to mix in different essential oils, you can definitely pour. You can kind of leave a little bit of the oil if you'd like, or you could just add the whole thing as well too. Okay, so now we're going to start playing with the wax. Okay, so if you know which one you want, and then because yours is empty here, we could use a scale here, and then we could just kind of gauge how much of the fragrance oil to add to your mixture. So I have a mixing cup here too. If you can definitely use the paper cups, that's totally fine. But if you'd prefer to use, your own glass with the spout on it, that's totally fine too. Cup. All right, so we have our oil and our fragrances are ready and our wax is ready, and then we are ready to pour. So again, once I pour it into the cup, just kind of work quickly, but you don't have to, rush. But go quickly because it's going to start hardening. Okay, so let's pour you 4 ounces. Okay.
4 ounces is the size.
Yes.
Of this jar.
Yes. It'll kind of fit maybe about 3.8 ounces to be more specific. Okay. But again, anytime that I pour wax, it's always better that I have a little bit wax left over than less wax. Okay, so we're gonna pour. Okay. 3 and 4. There we go. Okay. And then this is just to kind of give you an idea of how much the melted wax will look like in your cup as well too. So it's a little over half. Oh, I gotta watch out over here. Okay, perfect. Okay. And then I'll pour my wax as well.
So I should
Oh yeah.
pour it in here to measure.
Oh yeah, if you want, or we can measure it on the scale too. We'll measure it on the scale because then you don't have to double. Okay, so here's 4 ounces here. Okay. So once we have our wax in our mixing cup, then we will add in our fragrance oils. So Marie, you want to do the lavender?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'll do is, because we have the scale here, I'll give her the measurement of the oil.
Does peppermint go with?
Yes, and what I recommend is if you're not quite sure, you can kind of open the oils and then just kind of smell it. If you want to try the peppermint, yeah, you can kind of open it and kind of smell it together, yeah. That's a really good combination, the lavender and the peppermint.
It's refreshing.
Yes, very refreshing, very spa-like, very zen-like. Okay, so we're gonna add in the oils here. Usually, I'll just pour it straight from the bottle because these droppers are not working. I'll just kind of put it in. Are you gonna add in the peppermint?
I think so.
Yes. Okay.
So how many ounces?
So put in let's say you have this cup, you can add in the whole thing. But if you want to blend other ingredients, I would leave I don't know what, just
point.
Yeah, just a little point. But also too, the fragrances that you have, the lavender and the citrus, those have a little bit more of a stronger throw. So if you personally like things a little bit more subtle, you can definitely cut back on the fragrance level as well too. So I mean, this is going to be your own candle and this is your own creation, so you can definitely play with different combinations and experiment too.
So do you think
yeah.
2 to 3 drops?
Yeah, I would do 2 to 3 drops. So essential oils are definitely more potent. However, it really depends on the type of oil. So for peppermint, for eucalyptus, for citrus ones, I tend to do just maybe about 3 to 5 drops. And then if it's, different type of herbal, essential oils that have like that smell more subtle, then I'll add a little bit more.
Like rosemary?
Yeah, like rosemary or like chamomile.
Okay.
I feel like you can kind of amp it up to all the way up to like 10 drops, 10 to 15 drops.
Oh, wow.
So let's stir that.
Okay.
And then I'll do like a rose. And then again, don't be too worried about if you feel like there's too much, wax in here. You definitely want to make sure there's enough room to stir it and work with the wax. But if it doesn't go, not everything's going to fit in the jar. And if it doesn't fit, that's totally fine. Yeah, and so the best way is maybe I like to count to 30 and just kind of mix it 30 times. Because at this point, you're going to make sure that the oil is really well blended into the melted wax. And the better the blend, the better the scent throw. Okay, so I'm gonna do rose, and then I will probably add in a little bit of eucalyptus. Okay. And then as you can see, just kind of, and then, really just kind of take a look and be aware of like the consistency and the texture of your wax. So right now, if you can kind of see it, if it's still liquidy and if it's still clear, you don't see any clouding happening, the temperature-wise, it's still very safe for you to kind of, if you feel like you need more time to kind of play around with the scents, if you're not quite sure, don't feel too pressured by it, because right now the state of it is still pourable, and it's still, you can still kind of add, or you can still kind of add the different fragrance combinations if you'd like. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll kind of like lift up the mixing stick, and then I'll kind of smell, just to kind of see. A little bit more eucalyptus in mine. So some of the combinations that I personally love to do is I love to do like floral scents, and then I like to mix it up with like a little bit of citrus. So orange oils have been really great. And I think it's so appropriate for this time too. Orange oils are really nice. Peppermint oils are really nice, and then also you can definitely amp up the musk factor and do like a sandalwood or cedarwood oils or patchouli. Okay.
If you haven't checked out her site, her candles smell amazing.
Thank you. Okay, so perfect. Let me just lower that right now. Okay. So now when you're ready to pour, luckily, because these are in jar form, you can kind of lift it and put it somewhere to cure overnight. So, but if it's, something like this and you pour, it's hard for you to kind of move it around. So you might want to make sure the place is flat and it's a surface area that no one will, kind of be around, because you want to let this set overnight with nobody touching it. So with these jars, luckily we can pour into it, and then we can move it back or tuck it away somewhere and then keep it there overnight until it hardens. So, okay, so now you're ready to pour the wax. Okay? So I'm gonna give it a few more stirs. Okay, and then, so I naturally just kind of crease it a little bit with the cup and create my own spout. And then you're gonna pour it right into your jar. Perfect. And you wanna pour probably right below where you don't wanna pour all the way to the top. You wanna pour right above the fill line naturally to the jars. Yeah, that's perfect, yes. Okay, and then you see Marie's candle, how it's already kind of clouding up a little bit. That's showing that it's starting to harden and the temperature is dropping. And that's totally fine, that's perfect. And just to kind of give you a little bit more insight, so I personally love working with soy wax because, again, it's very easy to clean. I think it's one of the cleaner waxes that are out there for candle making. Right now, coconut wax is very popular too. Coconut wax is a blend of vegetable waxes because you can't purely get coconut candles. And I just love like how easy it is to work with the soy wax too. Okay, so now that you have your candle and you poured it, you're going to set the wick. So what I recommend is just kind of know where you want your candle to sit. Because once you set the wick, it's kind of hard to move it around. Okay, you're going to take your clothespin, and I personally love using the clothespins, but there's tons of different wick options out there too. And then you see the little hole where the spring is. You're going to place the wick right in between the hole. And then this will kind of give you a little bit more control as to keeping your wick centered while it is solidifying. So again, it's good that you kind of find your area to set the wick, because once you move it, you can kind of move the wick too. And then you basically want to just let this sit here. Now, because this is a smaller container, it probably will harden a lot faster than 24 hours. It will probably harden in about an hour or so, and it also depends on the temperature of of the environment that you're in too. So if it's like a very cool, if it's a cool area, then it will solidify faster. But as you can see here, like Marie's is already like well on her way to solidifying. And then this one is kind of getting there too. So if you have leftover wax in your cup, so another little bit of fragrance oils in there, but it's very similar to body wash or scented lotions. So you can definitely just toss it and throw it away. Okay.
Use the jar.
Yes.
To remake another one.
Yes, yes, yeah. So that's why I love working with these jars. I tend to use like a hot glue gun sometimes because I feel like the hot glue guns, those kind of take the wick off a lot better and easier. But I use sometimes like these kinds of permanent wick seals, because sometimes when the candle burns at the very bottom, sometimes there might be incidents where the wick gets undone. And if that's the case, then you want to discontinue using the candle. So, but let's say if you feel like it's kind of tough to remove, that's no problem, because you can always get another wick and just like place it right on top of where the other wick used to be. You can always trim it off. And then to reuse the glasses, again, this is water soluble, so you can just use hot water or warm water, and then I like to use like dish soap, but you can use hand soap or anything, and then you could just wash it right off, and it will be clean for you to do your next candle making session. Okay, so I think that's about it with what we covered. So once the wax hardens, you need to cut and trim the wick. So basically, to know that it's hard, the wax is going to turn like a nice like milky white shade. So when that's an indication that the wax is going to be okay for you to remove the clothespin. So
like this, right?
Yeah, it's going to be
to this
yes. But keep in mind, if you are using different type of fragrance oils where there's vanilla in it, sometimes the coloring might kind of change a little bit. So even if it's a little bit yellow due to fragrance, that's totally not an issue at all. and it shouldn't affect the way that it's burning too. So just to kind of give you a little tip, and again, if you have any questions after, feel free to. You want to trim the wick not too short. Gives me a good length for the flame as well too. And then also, so in terms of curing, so candles and the wax is completely emulsified, and it just 24 hours to the more fragrant hours to light the candle. But after 24 hours, you can totally light it and enjoy it.
Excited.
Okay, I think that is it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for attending our live candle making